Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh boy. I was having a talk with myself on the elevator coming up. I was saying to myself, hey, you are not as young as you used to be. You cannot cut things as close as you used to do. You must give yourself just a little more time. I mean, I have always lived on the edge. It's one of the reasons I love doing what I've done all my life, which is my working life, which is live broadcasting. Not tape, not recorded, but working without a net live. I love the adrenaline rush of it. But I think the older you get, and believe me, I'm getting old, the older you get, the less that is like good for you. And I can tell because, I mean, my heart is pounding right now. I'm sure my blood pressure's high. This is nuts. And you know why? It's because I don't leave my house in a timely fashion that anybody who was like a more sedate person would. No, I like racing, looking at the clock, thinking, oh, geez, assuming I'm going to find a parking spot on the street near 650 Smithfield Street, where I currently am. And it used to work really, really well, but I don't know what the hell's happened. First of all, the city has gotten rid of a lot of those parking spaces. And in an effort to get us out of our cars, because most of the spaces have disappeared because of bike lanes and bus, nicer places for bus stops. And I have to admit, I mean, I understand and I guess support that, but okay, guys, I'm going to end up dead one day trying to get here like this. I've really got to. So excuse me, I guess I'm not done talking to myself. Whew. I mean, I just blew in here. Just blew in. And so much to talk about, dear God in heaven. Let's start here at home. Just catch up on the Murphy fiasco, at least for him. So, yeah, as of yesterday, he was saying he would resign at the end of this term. Now he's gone. The Republican leadership did not want him hanging around because, as I've said countless times, if there's one thing Republicans do know how to do, it's win elections. And they knew that keeping this wounded, adulterous hypocrite around until the midterm elections would certainly lessen their chances of retaining the seat. So they told him to get the hell out now, and he has slunk off. I guess his technical last day is in a week or two. So what happens now is that Governor Wolf sets a special election. So you guys living in that 18th district are going to have an opportunity when nobody else does, unless he calls it for the same day as the primary. Which I think, I don't know what the calculation there is politically, but that's a long time not to have a representative, it seems to me. So it can be called as soon as 60 days from, I guess, the posting of something or other, essentially 2 months. And here's again what we were talking about yesterday. I think toward the end of the show, I was talking about how Democrats don't fight. And the Democratic Party, the DNC, and its Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. These are the people that are supposed to be doing the work of the party to ensure that Democrats retain their seats and acquire more. And these guys are, I don't know, are they all eunuchs? Do they even have a pair? What the fuck? Jesus H. Excuse me. I want to read you something. This is what. Okay, so here's a possibility of taking a Republican seat. Here is what a statement from the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. They come out, I guess this is yesterday, and they referred to the 18th District as, quote, a reliable Republican stronghold. If they were fighters, they wouldn't say that. They would say, Yahoo! We got us a chance. We got us an opportunity. We're going to take this baby back. They wave the white flag before even a candidate has been found. They tepidly then went on to suggest that, but grassroots energy behind Democrats has proven powerful this year, and we will be closely tracking this district and special election. WTF. What do you mean? You've got an opportunity here. You'll be closely tracking it? That's what they're... Yesterday I read you a quote that was much like that about an election going on where in, what state is that, Alabama? For Jeff Sessions' seat? Where they said it's kind of the same thing. They weren't sure they were going to come in real strong with support for the Democrat. Who the are you going to support? What is the purpose of having a Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee if you don't campaign? This is not helping my blood pressure. Okay, so the Democrats are already suggesting, given this opportunity, and yes, it's a tough row to hoe, but if going in you are negative and you say, well, this is a Republican stronghold and we'll keep our eye on it, but you lose. You lose. Do you jerks remember? Excuse me, I'm talking to the DCCC. Do you remember the audacity of a jug-eared black man who no one ever heard of with a ridiculous name of Barack Obama saying he wanted to be the president of the United States? Well, the Republicans have already outmaneuvered the Democrats in this one because they forced Murphy out. Now, out. So now it comes down to this special election, and they'll and listen. Here's the district, just so you know. I'll name you some towns that are in this district, okay? Because you get we all have pictures of certain places. Monroeville, Moon, Mount Lebanon, South Park, Upper St. Clair, Sewickley, Peters, Robinson, Ligonier, Latrobe. I guess all those are the reason that what is the average income in this district is higher than most. It's $60,615. As far as I know, Clarence, our caller, is maybe the only non-white person in the district. It is overwhelmingly white. It voted for Romney in 2012. It voted for Trump in 2016. 95% of the people who live in this district have health insurance, so they don't even understand what this health insurance stuff that everybody's squawking about is about. They're comfortable. 60% of them went to college, for God's sake. And they're old. 61%. Well, are over 35. Yeah, that sounds like a Republican district. Relatively rich. And white as the driven snow. But the only way to win is to put up a good candidate and put up a fight. Democrats have to remember the only way you win is to contest every damn election. It's how Republicans have gotten so powerful, even though they represent a minority of American people. They fight every fight to the death. I'm telling you, Democrats are sissies. They surrender. I'm sick of it. It's why I really don't identify as a Democrat anymore. I'm registered as one, so my vote has some meaning here because everything happens here in the primaries. And we have a closed primary, so it's the only way I can have a franchise. I met a young man, impressive guy, at a Planned Parenthood event maybe about 5-6 months ago. And he told me he was thinking of taking on Murphy. This guy was so attractive in every way as a candidate. I see his name listed as one of the potential people who might jump in here. And this guy doesn't have loser written all over him. His name is Connor Lamb. He's an assistant U.S. attorney here. He is a relative of another Lamb in public here. That's the city controller, Michael Lamb. That's his uncle. This guy is smart. He's charming. He would make an extraordinary candidate. And there are other candidates that we've got, people willing to take it on, and they're all pretty damn impressive. I think this is the guy who's got the best shot. I don't know, but I think so. But you see, the Democrats in Washington have already waved a white flag. Oh, that's a Republican stronghold. No, we can't do anything about that. Jesus H. If there was a way to personify the Democratic Party establishment, I would like it to materialize here in front of me so I could get my hands around its scrawny neck and just shake it. All right, well, there's that. You know, like the lottery says, you can't win if you don't play. You can't win if you don't play. Now, I've never bought a lottery ticket in my life. I know I'm never going to win it. But, even if I did buy lottery tickets all the time, in the back of my head, I know I was never going to really win it. Right? If you don't, come on, guys. All right, so Trump is up to such trouble in the last 24 hours that it defies description. Somehow we have to figure out a way to get this guy out of there. He is a true danger. So on a day when the Nobel Committee gave the Nobel Peace Prize to a group most of us had never heard of, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, because they're all about the only way we all don't die in a nuclear conflagration is just because we already have the weaponry, is obviously achieving treaty-based peace. Treaty-based prohibition of ever using such weaponry. The same day that the Nobel Committee awarded that group the Peace Prize, a rather sought-after prize, right? The President of the United States of America, a nuclear power, the only country, in fact, to ever drop nuclear bombs on civilian populations, announced that, well, he didn't announce, we're going to be treated to this next week, but he is going to overrule all of his national security advisors. You know, when people say, well, they're there, the adults in the White House are just there to keep him from doing anything terrible. So you got all these adults, all these generals, and they all said to the president, don't do this, don't do this. He's going to do it. And what that is he's going to refuse to recertify the treaty we have with Iran regarding nuclear weaponry. Now, what that means, I mean, it's complicated. It doesn't completely, it doesn't take us out, but it puts the problem in the lap of the Congress of the United States. Anyone looked at the Congress of the United States lately? It is as dysfunctional a body as exists in the world, I'm willing to bet. So now, it goes to the Republicans. People who know why the president is doing this is, first of all, because he wants to undo every single goddamn thing that Barack Obama did, but also because the treaty forces the White House to every, and I'm not sure exactly, I think it's every 90 days, to recertify. That was our way of saying to the Iranians, we ain't signing this, and then walking away. We're going to keep our eye on you, as are other international bodies, and we will recertify this treaty every 90 days. Donald Trump has recertified this treaty twice, I believe, since being in office. He had no choice, but it galled him to recertify a treaty, to essentially say it's working, to essentially be forced to say that this treaty that Barack Obama negotiated and that has worked, to have to publicly, internationally sign off on the fact that, yes, it appears that the Iranians are holding up their end of the treaty. He doesn't want to do that anymore. So that's the reason. He is going to refuse to recertify, even though the Iranians have kept up their end of the deal. Same day, the Nobel Peace Prize goes to a group that says treaties like this are the only way we're going to survive. One of the women, it's almost all women, of course, one of the women in this group said this. I wonder who she might be talking about. You can't threaten to indiscriminately slaughter hundreds of thousands of civilians in the name of security. That's not how you build security. I wonder if she might have been thinking of Trump and his seemingly offhand remarks about, we will destroy you. We will demolish you. What he said last night with generals standing around him. He said something about, hey, look at all these generals and stuff. He says, this is the calm before the storm. And a reporter who was taking pictures, this whole thing lasted 1 minute, taking pictures of the group said, what do you mean? What are you talking about, the calm before the storm? And our president said, you'll find out. There you go. All right. I'm sorry. Hey, if you guys want me to be happy, I remember we used to do Happy Fridays. Help me then. If there's something happy going on, you tell me. If you hear another Republican say how Obamacare is failing, will you do me a favor and punch him in the nose for me? It is failing in large part because they are undercutting it every way they can. And here is another thing that is going on. Because they were not able to repeal it, as promised, Trump is personally now going after states who are attempting to hold up their insurance markets, trying to keep their premiums down. And in order to do whatever they want to do, they've got to have it signed off on by the Health and Human Services and essentially the people who oversee Medicaid. And Trump was reading the Wall Street Journal the other day, and he saw that Iowa, that's a red state, folks, Iowa, was petitioning the federal government to adjust how they are implementing Obamacare so that they can get more affordable coverage for their residents, get more competition, get better prices. So they appealed to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Trump read that in a Wall Street Journal article. He picked up the phone, called the head of Health and Human Services at the time, Tom Price. This was just last week. He's now, of course, gone. Tom Price. But Tom Price was not available because Tom Price was, of course, traveling at taxpayers' expense in some remote area of the world. So he called instead someone under him, the head of the Medicaid and Medicare services. And he said to her, you turn them down. The Iowa request. Turn them down. And here's what the state insurance commissioner in Iowa said. Now, you got to figure these guys are Republicans. He said, without getting a yes from the feds, we estimate that over 20,000 middle-class farmers, early retirees, and self-employed Iowans will either go uninsured now or leave the state. He is hampering state efforts to control premiums. He hampered an effort in Ohio recently. They want to make such a mess of it that they can then say, it didn't work. Here's what Trump has done since he hasn't been able to get rid of Obamacare. He has slashed grants to groups that help consumers get the insurance, figure out where to go. It has cut the enrollment period in half. It has almost taken down the healthcare.gov website It is less available. It has cut the advertising budget to let people know that now is the time. You want to sign up, sign up. It has cut it by 90%, essentially gutted it. And all of this uncertainty has made insurance companies freak out, so they have pushed up premiums. Here you have a president of the United States that is actively, along with his Health and Human Services Department and Medicaid and Medicare services, attempting to destabilize a program by which millions of Americans receive their health care insurance. Many of them for the first time. Oklahoma, red a state as you want. They petitioned to the Treasury Secretary for some kind of a waiver so they could up their marketplace there too. Never even heard back from him. And so this came from the Oklahoma Health Secretary, I'm sure, again, Republican, to Secretary Mnuchin. While we appreciate the work of your staff, the lack of any timely approval will prevent thousands of Oklahomans from realizing the benefits of significantly lower insurance premiums. They don't care who they hurt. They have to destroy everything Barack Obama did. And just one more thing. I hate to pummel you like this. This is just today's news. If anyone again, I know I'm punching a lot of people in the nose today, but if anybody ever again says to you, there's no difference between the two candidates. If anyone ever says that to you again, if it's a Democrat and a Republican, punch them. You obviously can't teach them. This is what happens, all of this, when you elect Republicans. If I'm wrong, tell me. If I'm wrong, tell me. If you think that what's going on now is fantastic, come on, tell me. You know what Trump is also going to do? All you young women and young men, if you care about the young women in your life, today, it is going to put out a rule that will limit access to contraception under Obamacare. One of the incredible things that Obamacare did was make contraception free. Why? Well, hey, if you want to prevent unwanted pregnancies, let women get their hands on the tool by which they can control their reproductivity. Since Obamacare was enacted, more than half of all the out-of-pocket money that Americans have paid for prescription drugs since 2012, more than half of the money Americans have been able to keep in their pocket that used to go to the pharmaceutical companies is because of that aspect of Obamacare. It's all about birth control. The National Women's Law Center, which estimates that in 1 year alone, the contraception requirement saved women over $1 billion in oral contraceptive cost, says, we'll see you in court. We want to thank the Catholic Church. We want to thank Bishop Zubik, because these are the guys that went after this, free contraception, or that you had to cover contraception. And then they bewail the unwanted pregnancies that result in abortion. Dear God in heaven. Okay, I'll stop. I got more, but I will just stop. Get on to you guys. Roger said this. Happy news? The Pens defense... I haven't seen the rest of it, but it ain't happy news. So anybody who doesn't follow hockey, the Penguins played the second game of the season yesterday. And they lost 10-1. I mean, what? These are the Stanley Cup champs. They lost 10-1. So Roger writes, in happy news, the Pens defense held their opponents to only one touchdown and a field goal. Marc-Andre, where are you? Dear God. All right, Roger. Ha, ha, ha. Does anybody really have some? This has been sent to me by my producer over here. Is this another joke? It's not. This is from Steven. This has to do with Trump administration environmental regulations. Oh, is he doing a job on them? Hey, by the way, did you see? He just nominated a leading lobbyist for the coal industry for the, is that what you have here? No, for the second down from the top for the EPA. A lobbyist for the coal industry as a leading administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, which I will say again that when Republicans have the federal government, all of these bureaucracies, these cabinet level positions that were put in place invariably by, well, that's not true. You know who created the EPA? It was a Republican, Richard Nixon. Jesus, God. It's not, once the Republicans get a hold of that apparatus, they really need to just, lower the flag and put a little, a different sign out front. Because it's not the Environmental Protection Agency anymore. It's the Environmental Destruction Agency. And they're not even bothering to pretend it's not. Okay, so this is what Steven sent me. It was the third time since July that the EPA or the Interior Department has been found to have acted illegally in their rush to roll back environmental rules. Yeah, they're tripping over themselves. Tripping. And thank God every once in a while, because every time they do it, somebody sues them or somebody comes and they say, hey, you can't do that. So just since July, there have been 3 instances where the EPA or the Interior Department has acted illegally in their zeal to destroy the environment. And in 3 other environmental cases, the Trump administration reversed course on its own after lawsuits accusing it of illegal actions were filed by environmental groups and Democratic states' attorney general. That's what qualifies as happy news now. Okay. And one more. See, what they do is they just sit at their desks and reverse everything that was done in the last 8 years. That's what, no, we're signing off on that, I'm not kidding you. Things that don't even merit, if you get your news like from 30 minutes of NBC nightly news or something, you don't know anything, okay? Jefferson Beauregard Sessions has reversed This happened yesterday. A 2014 decision by his predecessor that prohibits discrimination in the workplace for transgender employees. So, I don't know if you're transgender, but if you know somebody who is, you better warn them. They now have no protection. No protection. So if their employer says, hey, I don't want you around because you offend me, the very idea of you offends me, they have no recourse, okay? Jefferson Beauregard Sessions did that. Also this week, the Justice Department under Jefferson Beauregard Sessions filed court papers defending the president's right to exclude those repulsive transgender people from the military. Happy news? Anybody? Okay, that brings me to the obit of the day. For all I know, this is happier news than anything else we read. Maybe not to the person in question, but telling you. Just in case you didn't know about him. The thing I love about obituaries is, you read, a nice synopsis, sometimes well done, a great synopsis of somebody's life and impact here on Earth. And here's somebody that I didn't know about. His name is John Thompson. I read the obit, I think, yesterday. Here it is. He's just another black man who was falsely accused, of course, of murder and put on death row. He sat there 14 years on death row. And then, God bless it, somebody came upon a little bit of film that showed that the prosecution in his case knew full well that he was an innocent man. Had to do with blood evidence. Had to do with, ain't no way, that wasn't his blood. He was never there. They knew it before he was convicted. He sat for 14 years in a windowless room. He survived 6 dates with death. His execution was set. He was going to be murdered by the state in 12 hours. 6 times he went through that before there was an appeal that somehow commuted. So, I mean, you're talking about really not only but just 30 days before his last scheduled execution, a private investigator found this lab report that revealed that the blood type of whoever committed the murder wasn't his. What's amazing is he stayed in jail for another year before they let him out, before they gave him a new trial. And when he finally got the new trial, the jury took 35 minutes to acquit. And a jury later, because he sued the state of Louisiana, he was in the horror known as Angola prison. Anyone who knows anything about prison reform knows Angola and Louisiana is notorious. So he sued the state, and a Louisiana jury in 2007 awarded him $14 million. $1 million for every year this innocent man was robbed of, and $1 million for every year that he sat in that windowless cell waiting to be killed. the state of Louisiana appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States. And in 2011, in a 5-4 decision written by none other than the great jurist Clarence Thomas, took the $14 million back. Said he had no right to it. He wrote an op-ed piece for the New York Times, and he said this: I don't care about the money. I just want to know why the prosecutors who hid evidence, who sent me to prison for something I didn't do, and nearly had me killed, are not in jail themselves. There were no ethics charges brought against any of them. No criminal charges. Nobody got fired. And now, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, they can't even be sued. You know who the DA was who went after him? You'll recognize the name. Harry Connick. He is the father of a guy who sings and plays the piano that you may know. This is Harry Connick Sr. Someone on the prosecution team who was nearing death confessed that he had gone into the evidence room and removed the pants from which the bloodstains were taken in order to keep them from the defense. And that was a deathbed confession that was made to others, and still this poor man, John Thompson, rotted in jail. No one passed that information on. Thompson said, man, if I'd spilled hot coffee on myself, I could have sued the person who served me the coffee. But I can't sue the prosecutors who nearly had me murdered. So, needless to say, I don't know what you would be like if that had happened to you. He got out, and he was mad. He was angry. But this man, who had 14 years of his life taken from him, and then had the added, of the Supreme Court saying, nah, nobody is responsible for what happened to you. Give the money back. You don't deserve anything. He set out to spend the rest of his life working to help men like himself who get out of jail. He started something called Resurrection After Exoneration. He bought a building, a crappy little building in New Orleans. He fixed it up. He created a program for ex-cons who had no money, who had no support, who had no family. He created a stable, supportive environment for them, a place where they were treated with respect, maybe for the first time in their lives. When the beds were all full, he'd take them into his own home. He offered computer classes to these men who'd never even seen a cell phone. He had a heart attack in 2008, a year after he created this program. He shook it off and was back to work a week later. The next heart attack killed him. He only had 14 years of freedom after the state of Louisiana, with malice, took his life from him. His freedom. Tried to take his life. He's a remarkable man. He took that anger and he put it into productive positivity, helping others. That's amazing. That's an amazing man. I don't think I would have the ability to do that. I think I'd be consumed by the anger. So remember John Thompson on death row for something he did not do. Mark's got some good news. The newly appointed U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio has decided to disband the Civil Rights Division. Will you guys stop with your... I can't take any more of your good news. I saw that. This son of a bitch gets into office, and one of the first things he does, he's a U.S. Attorney. That would be somebody who got appointed by Donald Trump. He gets in, the first thing he does is says, hey, we're not even going to help people who are not white heterosexual males. Out, gone, you're unbelievable. Hello?
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
I was aiming to come up with something happy.
Yeah?
For Happy Friday.
Yeah?
And I took notes even here. And the Sessions transgender rule.
Yeah?
The capacity to hate. It knocked the wind out of me, baby. It just knocked. It's wild. This cycle of grief that I keep going around and around in, trying to get a direction, trying to find a way to understand how we got so blindsided. Okay, there's the haters. I got mine versus the lovers, the hand-holding kumbaya lovers, which I'm glad to be. Trying to understand the drain the swamp voters, those people, and the other, the racist voters. That's all I could. That's what they are. They're racist voters, and they're driven to undo every accomplishment that President Obama achieved. To get to the closest I can come to happy. Okay, here goes. The happy is I've come to the point where I actually feel sorry for the haters. They got everything coming their way. They got everything, and they're still miserable.
Yeah.
They're just this seething, cancerous, oozing sore of hate. And baby, here comes. I'm so glad that I'm not one of them.
Yeah, they're miserable people.
Whatever. We're just not those sick, miserable haters.
Yeah.
And humor is the only thing. The gift my parents gave me was the key to life is humor. And I'm sorry, but I was able to watch a little bit of the news TV last night, and the thing about Tillerson calling Trump a moron.
Yeah.
That's downright funny shit there. That is just...
That's
funny.
We happen to actually know that he actually called him a fucking moron.
How do you do? Get him.
Yep. All right. Well, but you're right. These are such angry people, and as you said, they own the goddamn government now. Everything they want is happening, and they're still...
It's a haters parade, and the thing is that. But my question is, and I forgive my ignorance here, but okay, so Sessions in this transgender rule and knocked the living. It just knocked me down. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go cry after this. But the part of it is that the hate is. How quick does that go into effect? All this nonsense.
I have no idea. I have no idea. But pretty quickly, I would imagine. It's just I think with the tip of his pen and his little signature, it's probably, it's saying to every employer, both public and private sector, you don't like these people, you don't have to hire them. If you have some, you can throw them out. We ain't going to come after you. That's what. And in Pennsylvania, by the way, even gay people don't have protection. Do you know that?
What do you mean?
Our Pennsylvania's civil rights legislation, discrimination language, does not include gender. No, does not include sexual orientation. Does not. Now, if you live in Pittsburgh and you work in Pittsburgh, you're covered. If you work, in other words, even though the state, even though the Supreme Court said, yeah, you guys can get married, in Pennsylvania, if you're a married gay person and you stick a picture of your husband or wife up on your desk where you used to, keep it quiet, if you're living outside of a big city that has said you can't discriminate against gay, you could lose your job.
How long has this been?
Forever! Forever!
Oh, baby, don't.
I'm sorry.
I can't.
I'm sorry. Okay, listen. Take a deep breath and go out and listen to the birds.
Skip and look at the flowers.
Okay, and the flowers. Thank you so much. Listen, have yourself a good weekend.
You too, but hey, Lynn, thank you.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you. Love you.
And hey, let's rejoice in the fact that we are the lovers.
Okay. Although I'm perfectly capable of hate myself, but okay.
Oh, me too. But I'm well versed. I'm well versed, but I choose to be
love.
A lover.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh. Okay, a friend sent me this. This goes back to the flag kneeling crap, but I love what she wrote back to him. This is what she did with her anger. Listen to this. After Trump said this, if a player wants the privilege of making millions of dollars in the NFL or other leagues, he should not be allowed to disrespect our great American flag or country. So, this friend of a friend wrote this. If an idiot wants the privilege of living in the White House, he shouldn't disrespect it by calling it a dump. If a traitor wants the privilege of working in the Oval Office, he shouldn't disrespect it by using it to convey classified information to our Russian enemies. If an incoherent blowhard wants the privilege of addressing the UN, he shouldn't disrespect it by threatening to destroy other countries or referring to other countries' leaders by a silly nickname. If a draft dodger wants the privilege of being the commander-in-chief, he shouldn't disrespect the military by putting them in harm's way to salve his own ego or telling them that their sexual orientation makes them unfit to serve. Oh, this goes on and on. I mean, this just goes on and on. If a lazier-than-fuck con artist... we all deal with our anger in whatever way we can. If a lazier-than-fuck con artist wants the privilege of working for his countrymen, he shouldn't disrespect them by spending his days tweeting, watching TV, and playing golf. If an obvious racist wants the privilege of being our nation's leader, he shouldn't disrespect it by calling a black athlete a son of a bitch or calling white supremacists fine people. If a blatantly stupid ignoramus wants the privilege of being in charge of the government, he shouldn't disrespect it by not knowing how it works and not even bothering to educate himself. If a know-nothing jerk-off wants the privilege... She ain't done. I don't get it. If a self-serving narcissist wants the privilege of being the president, he shouldn't disrespect the office by lying and then lying and then lying again to the citizens he has sworn to serve. If a shit for brains moron wants the privilege of being called the leader of the free world, he shouldn't disrespect that title by trying to diminish the freedoms of his own citizens. Okay, all right. You know, we all do what we have to do, what we can do to try to maintain our sanity. That's all I want to say. So, seriously, nobody can come up with any good news. It's funny. Oh, wait. I did leave. Mark had a little bit of good news after the disbanding of the Civil Rights Division. And then he had a bunch of bad news. And then he said, oh, but good news, sure. Indians 4, Yankees nothing. So, you know what? I got to tell you. This shows sports and the role they do play, which is why it was so egregious for Trump to politicize the arena, the stadium, because it is a refuge for people in these times to, get hot and bothered about a game, to take sides, but it's a game. You know what I mean? That is how I figured. My producer's saying I'm a Yankees fan. I figured when I said it, I thought, because he's from New York, well, he could have been a Mets fan. I don't know. Oh my God, he's having a seizure. Okay. Anyway, Indians 4, Yankees nothing. I paid absolutely, once the Pirates prove themselves to be as awful as they've been, I sort of stopped paying attention to baseball. So I was surprised. I didn't even know the Yankees were in the damn playoffs till yesterday, but I wish we had someone in the playoffs so we could have, a way to get out. And then it turns out what we've got is the Penguins looking just appalling. It's game 2. It doesn't matter really. But okay, guys. All I can say is, by the way, my new producer, Stephen Caruso of New York, a Yankees fan, but we'll forgive him, is just the greatest. And we are well served. He feeds me information during the show. He's running this board beautifully, and I am just thrilled to have him. So I know a lot of you have said that the show looks better, it sounds better, yada, yada, yada. Well, why the hell didn't we do this 5 years ago? Just ask. Okay, well, I'm going to go now and try to get my blood pressure down. And because Trump and life seems to be killing me. We can't let him, okay? Make a good weekend for yourself, okay? One way, turn off the goddamn television, okay? Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.